Today I'm heading to the origins of GABA, paying a visit to the farmer that invented it back in the 80s. This is Nannuoshan. I'm Gabriele. Well, nowadays we all know that GABA tea has good effects on our body. It relaxes us, like after a day in the office or even a week in the office. In the evening you drink a GABA and cools you down. And also we know that GABA tea helps in reducing blood pressure. Now, this knowledge was already available there years ago, and it was in the mid of the 80s that scientists in Shizuoka, working for the Japanese National Tea Research Institute, started experimenting with GABA and tea. They knew that on animals, like horses for example, GABA reduces the blood pressure, and they also knew that if you put vegetables in a protected atmosphere with nitrogen, without oxygen, the GABA level in the vegetables would increase. So they thought, why not combining the two things and trying to increase the GABA level in tea, putting tea leaves into nitrogen protected atmosphere. And so they did. The farmer I'm visiting today, Matsui, his name, claims that he invented GABA starting production 39 years ago. This can well be because the first paper that came out from the National Tea Research Institute about GABA tea is from 1987, and at that time they had to cooperate with some farmers in the region. They are from Shizuoka, we are going to Shizuoka, and on top of that, Matsui is still producing today black tea and oolong tea, but was doing so also at that time. And in the paper it is written that they experimented with black and oolong tea. So I would say the claim is right. Is not probably the only person responsible for the GABA development, because it was in cooperation with the National Research Institute. GABA tea nowadays is very widespread. We feature one from Taiwan, and if you really want a very tasty GABA tea, I would go for that one. It might not be the GABA tea with the most amount of GABA, but it's certainly the most tasty. There was also another video I did some time ago in Guangdong where I visited a black tea factory, and they had also a facility for producing GABA. And what does it mean? It means that when you do a GABA tea and you process it with the lack of oxygen, with nitrogen, before you can certify it as GABA, it has to have at least 150 milligrams of GABA per 100 grams of tea leaves. This is the bare minimum, and most GABA tea on the market are between the minimum 150 and 300. Matsui, the farmer we're visiting, is actually trying to increase as much as possible the GABA amount, and his tea, it has been measured, reach up to 500 milligrams of GABA per 100 grams of tea leaves. So if you want a GABA tea that maximizes GABA content, then that's the one to go. We have one on our website. It is the Sayakari Oolong GABA. It is an oolong tea, so you find it in the oolong section, and that's I would say when you want to really maximize the GABA content. Whether you like it or not, it's up to you. I would say GABA tea, it is an acquired taste. We mentioned that in the processing of GABA, we use putting the leaves in a nitrogen atmosphere. Now, there is a misconception that nitrogen is what is causing the increasing of GABA in the tea leaves. That's not true. What really matters is removing oxygen. So you just purge the chamber with nitrogen to remove the oxygen so that the tea leaves start producing more GABA. In fact, there has been also experiments of using carbon dioxide instead of nitrogen obtaining exactly the same amount of GABA content in the tea leaves. Now we are welcoming in Kawane, which is the city region in Shizuoka prefecture, more into the mountain. Now the Shizuoka prefecture starts at the sea level and then it goes up the valley, up, actually reaching up to Mount Fuji. Half of Mount Fuji is in Shizuoka prefecture. And in the mountains, they are more famous for fragrant sencha, while near the seaside, they are more famous for the fukamushi sencha. In fact, fukamushi processing, the high steam processing, was invented here in Shizuoka. Now, that's where we are going. We are heading to the mountains, and if you want to try a highly aromatic sencha from Kawane, we actually have one that we sourced exactly from Matsui, that is our Koshun Sencha Superior. At the time being, it is sold out, but I plan actually sourcing it today, and hopefully will be available soon on the store. Maybe I should have chosen another location. It's a little bit loud here. Anyway, a third tea that we source from him, besides the GABA that we mentioned and the Koshun Sencha Superior, is the Koshun Oolong. It is an oolong that is processed a little bit in the Oriental Beauty way, but I would say is a tiny bit darker. The Koshun Cultivar is very aromatic by itself, so going back to the Sencha Superior, we are combining a aromatic cultivar with local processing here in the Kawane Mountains to obtain an extremely aromatic sencha. Moreover, Matsui does a longer withering for the sencha that arguably is as sencha was done back in the days when you have the pickers in the mountain and it took a lot of time to come down the mountain before actually doing the steaming, and during these hours there were already some withering. So nowadays, machining the leaves, the withering is kept much shorter, but what Matsui does is actually going back to the tradition, increasing the withering time so that we can get an enhanced aromatic sencha. I have been driving for 3 hours and I'm definitely thirsty now. Shincha, just freshly processed. Which cultivar? Which cultivar? Mirai cultivar. Where was Mirai developed?
Where?
Mirai cultivar?
Oh, Mirai, that place and the highest in my village. Mirai.
In your garden.
In my garden.
And what does Mirai means
Me?
in Japanese?
Oh, future. My daughter's name.
Is your daughter's name?
Yeah.
So you gave the cultivar the name of your daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is black tea?
Black tea Mirai.
Mirai black tea. Mirai is a cultivar that Matsui-san developed explicitly for black tea. He has a black tea here made with Mirai. Let's try it. Wow. The leaves are super dark, but the taste is extremely aromatic. It's like a little bit like boom, an explosion in the mouth, and it has a very cooling aftertaste. I wasn't expecting this taste from the appearance of the leaves. I wasn't planning buying any black tea actually. No. And this is already, it's just the second tea I'm drinking and it's already... You wither all your sencha, isn't it? You do withering for all senchas. And why do you wither?
Except Yabukita.
Except Yabuchita.
Except
Okay,
Yabuchita.
okay. The most classic cultivar, no withering. But why? Why do you wither the tea?
Well, because getting a good aroma.
A good aroma out of the tea.
Mm.
And how long is the withering done for green tea?
15 hours.
15.
15 hours.
Ah, okay. So you basically pick the leaves on the first day, and then you do the steaming the next day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Now it's time for Koshung Sencha, our Koshung Sencha Superior. It was sold out really quickly last year, and I believe it is because of the very aromatic and almost citrusy, actually, fragrance. In the smell is almost milky. It is much smoother and more balanced than the previous one. Like the previous one, the Mirai, was strong. This one is very round, I find.
Yeah, I think so.
Very different teas, very, very different. And they are processed in the same way?
Same, yeah.
Same way. What are we drinking now?
Black tea GABA?
Black tea?
Black tea GABA?
Black tea GABA. In the Nannuoshan shop we have the Sayakari GABA, which is an Oolong, and now I would really like to try also the black tea GABA. I think it's the first time I'm having a GABA black tea. There is always something new.
You are lucky, yeah?
Very intense. It's very dense in taste and texture. It has a huge amount of GABA. You mentioned even more than 500 milligram per 100 gram. So I was expecting a very strong taste. The taste itself, how can I say, is not as aggressive as I was expecting for this high amount of GABA. Do you have more? And you have the classic brisk note from black tea. It's there. I know we will have to consider. This one is from which year?
Which year?
This is not 2026.
No, 25.
2025, because the GABA production is later in summer.
In June.
In June, okay. So we will have to wait. I would say it's better for us to go for the fresh one, just because it sells better. You guys like to buy very fresh tea. If you see 2026, you buy more than 2025, which is not the way I would buy tea for myself, especially not if it is a black tea. For me, it doesn't make, honestly, any sense. No offense. It makes sense for green tea. Green tea freshness is important, but for me, black tea is not so important. What do you think? Do you like fresh?
They depends on the
tea?
person who wants fresh tea.
Yeah.
Okay, but
But do you think that the taste of this tea, after 1 year, after 2 years, does it really change a lot?
a little bit.
Little bit, yeah. But green tea?
Green tea, it's getting heavier.
Heavier.
Yeah.
Which probably not good for green tea.
Oh no, I don't think so.
You like it?
Because I have almost 29
Years old. You know, we have
green tea.
on the stop, confusing here, on the Nannuoshan store, we have your 1999 Sencha.
Sencha, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to try some really aged Sencha, that's the place to go. I don't think there are so many 20 plus years old Sencha around. I think you're one of the few, if not the only one, honestly. In my cup there is Inzatsu. It's a cultivar from long ago. It was developed in the 40s, in the 1940s, and is a mix, it says at least, to be a mix between an Indian cultivar, an Assamica variety, and a local variety. I asked for it because I wanted something that is very different than the Koshun Sencha that we have, something that would bring a very strong contrast with it. Koshun is very balanced with this milky texture, and here is very strong, actually a fairly bitter tea, but a bitterness in a positive way. So if you are into bitter Sencha, that would offer really a good option. The leaves are also fairly large, actually, in comparison with the other one that we have seen. So I tend to believe the story about the Assamica. If I take one, it's rolled and it's really large. Was this actually processed in the same way as the Koshun? Same way. So yeah, I'm really considering as for the customers to compare two teas, two different cultivar, processed in the same way and tasting so differently. Yeah. Here you can better appreciate the difference in the leaves. On the left side we have the Koshun, and on the right side we have the Inzatsu. And the difference is really consistent in size and color. This is more bright green, this is more dull, and yeah, the size is obvious, right? This is the tumbler for the Oolong, the rolling machine for black tea and Oolong, and here there is the harvesting machine to pick the leaves. It runs through the bushes and pick the leaves with this mechanism in the center here. This is Yabukita, and look how thick the branches and the trunk is. Is maybe 2 centimeters, maximum 3. This one here is Inzatsu, and you can see how thick the trunk is, like that. And this is a sign that it comes from the Assamica variety. We mentioned before that he does withering for every Sencha but Yabukita, and the withering is done very differently than in China. He uses this container, this metallic container here. There is a fan in the bottom that runs air from the bottom upwards. It fills up these with leaves up to 70%, up to about here. And since there are holes on the bottom of the container, you get all the air getting through and up. Matsui-san just went packing the teas for Nannuoshan, and so I thought taking over his place, continue brewing some tea. He will need 20 minutes, half an hour, and then maybe I take a little rest before jumping back on the car and continue driving up north. I'm getting some GABA just to relax and cool down a little bit. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did. I close my eyes for a little siesta, and I will see you at the next one.
Bye, guys.